We will never be this young again. Never. We can be stronger, wiser, kinder, better. Yeah, we getting better. How? Pain. Change. And change, it hurts. It also feels good too. There's joy, peace in the middle of the storm, love, a whole lot of love. I should know. In the last quarter of 2017, I moved to Houston, Texas, baby. Population 2.3 million. From Rochester, New York. Population 207,000. This move from small cities large, from east to Gulf Coast, was a hell of a change. But I had to make it work to fulfill my purpose. Too old is for everyone who thinks they're too old to start over. Everyone who has gripped their balls and done it anyway. Everyone who takes risks, everyone who was scared, everyone who was living their best lives, and everyone who is tired of letting life pass them by. Too old is for you. Today we have Marc Furi on the show. He's a son, artist, entrepreneur, and professor. Y'all know I love the written word. It's my life's work. So I'll start with a blog I wrote, then I'll kick it to Marc, and then you'll give us your feedback on what resonated with you, and then we'll do the interview from there.
Okay.
Cool? I debated whether to send this email or not. Friendship is a blessing from God, so I don't want to deter y'all from making new ones. We also need to be vigilant, so I do want to warn you. On Friday night, I was in a peopling mood, so I text a few true blues. Everyone was out of town or busy, so I prayed, God, I really need to catch a vibe. Please send me someone. No one came. So I ate and napped and woke up at 1 a.m. Feeling froggy, I decided to go to Dean's. My personal cheers, I knew I would run into someone I knew. But my Lyft canceled. It was a nice night in Midtown, so I thought, why not explore my new stomping grounds? I wandered the streets and took in the sights of fancy folks going in bars, clubs, or lounges with blasting music. 2 black girls walking ahead seemed to be doing the same. Cute and natural, they seemed like my vibe, so I said hey, and they invited me to tag along. We went to a chill spot. Turns out they live in my building. They invited me to join them at the pool the next day. We barbecued and had girl talk. I thought, wow, God, this is exactly what I wanted to do today. On Sunday, we churched, brunched, and shopped the day away. On Tuesday, I woke up sluggish. God, why do I feel this way? I could barely open my eyes. All I wanted to do was cry. The blood in my panties was a week early. Why? You see, the unforeseen byproduct of new female friendship is synced periods. You've been warned. P.S. Reply back and let me know where you thought this story was going. P.P.S. One of the chicks' cycles started early too. It's like our bodies were like, I like her, let's bleed together. Shit is mega weird. P.P.S. I was tired as fuck last night. Hosting takes a lot of energy and hosting while bleeding, but honey, we had a time. Super excited to get the live stream popping for next month. If you live in Houston, you got to pull up. And without further ado, Mr. Marc Furi.
Hi. Well, that's a hell of an intro, isn't it?
You're right.
My goodness. Well, definitely that's a strong reality. Oh my God, I don't gotta go through any of that. Woo! Yeah. Okay. What you want me to talk about?
Right. No, that's no. Right. I just wanted your initial impressions. Right. So let me ask you this: when was the last time you made a new friend? And do you think it's possible at this stage of life?
I think so. Let's see. A new friend that's consistently. See, that's a good question. Now I got to process that. Now I got to think with the camera rolling.
Does she love this?
Yeah, I love this. So
because I guess it comes down to is how you define a friend, right?
I think I'm pretty open with the definition because it used to be a very stern thing about somebody I've known for a while or somebody that's been there for me all the time. And sometimes really people have seasons. Sometimes people can't really be there. And then sometimes they come back and they're very there for you, you know? So it's kind of like, I look at my experience in life as I'm a spirit living a human existence, having a human experience that happens to be a male, that happens to be black, and I kind of just go down the list. So I try not to get too wrapped up in who's been present, who hasn't. So, you know, of course, in business, you want to like deal with people that are really on their stuff and who are going to keep their word. Friendship kind of proves itself with experience, walking the path of life. So there's people that I have met in recent years that have been like really true friends, and that I never thought that I would be open to new friendships. Only because, you know, people are flaky. You know how it goes, especially with the internet and that sort of thing. People can be very surface, but then there's other people that have really good hearts. So I try not to base it on what other people are doing. Like, I'm going to be a good friend regardless. That's just how I am. Like, I'm always going to show up in the shadows. Like, there's a lot of people, like, that can tell you stories about when they've been completely down and out, and I've showed up for them, and nobody's looking. There's no camera. There's no
clout
social media. And that's me. And I don't shift from that, because I feel like that's my role on earth, and that's what I do. So moving into like how I fell into the teaching space, that's how I am with my students. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm here.
You said you fell into the teaching space?
I fell into this teaching space. Interestingly enough, I've always given people free game. Like, if I see, hey, I see you could expand past what you're doing, and I think you could do, I know you're thinking like this, but you could really be thinking like this. And whether they receive it or not, I still give the same advice. And some people take heed to it and do it. Some people take heed to it, do it, benefit from it, and never say thank you. Some people say thank you gratuitously, you know, and it's just like, I'm still going to do the same, be the same person regardless, because that's me. So back to your original question, the last person I made a friendship with, I don't know. I don't have a firm answer, because I can't really pull somebody up, because I feel like everybody that's kind to me recently is my friend.
I love that.
And I let them fall out of that. You know, like, I'm giving you 100 points, and it's up to you to deduct from that. Boom. That's a good answer. That's gold. Print it. That needs to go on TikTok. Woo!
You know
Wisdom.
what? In the 5 years I've known you, I can attest to what you said. And I'm wondering, how did you get to the point where, regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of the reciprocity or lack thereof, that you still just maintain yourself?
So, like, so your connection with how you form what God is to you. And that's your big audience.
Okay.
That's your main audience. Like, am I doing this, like, in reflection to my relationship to God? And then everything else kind of sprinkles from that.
Okay.
You know, so, like, if you can, because that's where you get all your creativity from. That's where you get all your power from. So might as well do right by that, whatever you want to label that, he, she, whatever, you know, and just focus on that. And so, like, I don't shift from my relationship to the higher spiritual self.
I got you.
Yeah, so no matter where I'm at, if I'm in a crazy environment, I'm not going to shift. The environment can shift. I'm going to be me. I'm still going to do good. I'm still going to be on the good side of the force. I'm just not going to shift from that. That's just me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you said you fell into teaching.
Oh, yeah, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
So the reason why I went on that little tangent rabbit hole is, like I said, I give away free game all the time, and I was a natural teacher anyway. So it came upon a friend of mine. Well, I used to do a film festival, and I used to do it at Rice University. It was a black film festival, but it was before people collectively started becoming pro-black, which is weird. It wasn't until we started having, you know, the police shootings and stuff that people were like, man, they're killing us. You know what? I want a black plumber. I want a black accountant, and I want to support a black construction person for my house, you know. And that's when, but I was always like that.
Yeah.
So I had a black film festival. It's called the Our Image Film and Arts Festival. I did it with another person, and It lasted 5 years. I got tired of it. People saying, hey, why don't you broaden it to make it more multicultural?
Yeah.
And I just started focusing on my own work. The reason why I'm bringing that up is I formed a relationship with the people at Rice that had the Rice Cinema building at the time.
Okay.
And they let us do a black film festival at Rice University.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and they were really nice to me. So because I like people, I would just, like, whenever they have a film screening, even beyond that, I would just have this relationship with them. Like, oh, yeah, come and check it out. Whatever. And like, oh, let's meet for drinks. You know? And it's just relationships. So like one of the ladies, her name is Tish Stringer, she said, hey, because she was a professor at Rice, and she was like, hey, I'm moving up to a higher position, and I can't teach my video activism class at Rice, so I would like you to take it over. At that point, I'd only taught one time. I taught at TSU for a semester, art class, teaching kids digital art. And so I was like, she called me, and she said, I want you to teach the class. And she just said, say yes. I was like, yes? She's like, don't worry about it. She's like, don't worry about it. You got the personality for it. I think you could do it. You're already a filmmaker, and this will be good for you. I was like, okay, cool. So I did it, and she was right. I adapted really well to it. I put my personality into it. I tried to be I put all the trauma I had with filmmaking. Like anytime I left a piece of equipment behind, or every time I didn't shoot something right and I regret it afterwards, I told them up front, don't do this. Do it like this. Yeah. And you won't have these problems on the back end, so you don't make my mistakes. So that's kind of how I approach teaching. And then how to get in people's heads, like where they're at mentally, like taking them out of overthinking and pull them into reality quickly, because that's how I would have wanted somebody to guide me. So I did 2 semesters of that, and I didn't have my master's at the time, so I couldn't continue. So I was basically a lecturer, classification. But simultaneously, I was getting my master's at U of H, my Master of Fine Arts. And it was, at the time, it was like the blackest group of people.
It was very black at that time.
Yeah. Because
you were in the cohort, you were with B, or you were?
Brian Ellison. That's B, our beloved B.
You're right.
And a number of other people, like Philip Powell was in that, Catherine Martinez, and a lot of really great artists were just in that. And I was just kind of blown away. Rick Lowe was one of my teachers. He's one of the founders of Project Row Houses. And I took 2 of his classes. And I really, it really expanded my outlook on art and what it's for and what it does for people. And it gave me a fonder appreciation of what I was already doing. And really kind of exposed me to what other people were doing. And it just kind of expanded it. So they encourage you while you're there to teach a class. So I taught a class on Prince, the pop star, the musician, Prince.
The one and only.
The Prince, the one and only. And I picked that topic and I created a curriculum instead of just taking over a curriculum that was already there. And I took it from the perspective of somebody that lived through the years that Prince was alive. I saw Prince 7 times. And I was like, I could really teach a class on this because there's so much to pull from. Prince, if you're an artist, like he did, fashion, performance art on stage, obviously the musicianship, the storytelling, the lyrics, the poetry in his words.
The visuals.
And all of that, I exposed the students to all of that. And their final projects, they could pick whatever topic about Prince that I exposed them to. Most of them picked Prince's gender fluidity.
What do you attribute that to?
The internet, because they're all like kids that were during the pandemic lockdown.
Okay.
So they were fascinated by it or something.
Interesting. And that he was doing it so early, right?
Yeah, he's doing it like in the 70s.
Okay.
But I also exposed him to the fact that he wasn't the first one to do that. I showed him David Bowie and the New York Dolls, bands like that, and stuff. Other bands that were performing around the time that he was growing up and what influenced them. So you got Sly and the Family Stone, you got Jimi Hendrix, You got the band Kiss, rock band Kiss, that people wear these T-shirts now, these Kiss T-shirts.
They have no
Never
idea
heard
who it is.
one song from any Kiss album. I listen to the whole catalog, so I can even talk. I could do a class on Kiss, and it'd be actually very compelling.
So how does that feel being at this end of it, right? Because we remember being the whippersnappers and then, the older folks now, you don't know nothing about that, right? And now we're in that position. Yeah,
so twofold. Impulsively, I want to tell people they don't know nothing about that.
Yeah.
But I don't do it like that anymore. Because I remember when I was young, I didn't like that. So I just kind of offer that to them. If you're interested, you should explore this and that. I think you would really be fascinated by it. And that's the way I approach it. That's what I tell them, hey, dig deeper.
Do you consider yourself like a statesman in this tribe of artists here in Houston and beyond?
What is a statesman? What is that?
Like an ambassador, like a person who is speaking from experience and authority.
I don't think of me like the whole thing about the ego in Buddhist culture or whatever. I don't think of myself. I think of myself as a vessel.
Okay.
Of I guess positive manipulation or whatever. But I guess the definition, because I do, ever since I was a kid, I could be in different zones, but not have a steady crew. I could go to different people's social bubbles. And I've always been like that, so maybe that would be consider myself an ambassador like that.
I see.
And I only see maybe one or two other guys that I would see in these obscure spaces that I would go to. I go to an Indian play at the Miller Outdoor Theater, or I go to the Renaissance Festival, and I only see...
You dress up?
I haven't done that yet. I'm going to do that one year.
I'm here for it.
And I'd see maybe one or two other dudes.
Yeah.
That would be in these obscure spaces. So, I'd be in another city. I was like, damn, Jason? Anybody knows Jason Oliver? He's one of them.
Jason be everywhere.
Jason be everywhere. So, yeah.
How has being a professor informed your artistry? Has it changed it at all?
Yeah. So, it's kind of I want to dig deeper. Now, it's part of being a professor is research. So now I research more. Now it's a habit to dig deeper and research, and what's the thing behind the thing? Where does this come from? How far does this go back? What influenced that thing? Now what influenced that thing before that? How many centuries does what I'm doing go back? Or what others? Anybody else electronic music? How far back does that go? Black people in electronic music. Who's the first black person to do electronic music? Who's the first black person to do the rock and roll style? And people think it's Chuck Berry or Little Richard, but it's really Rosetta Tharpe, a black woman that had the guitar, because the guitar used to be a sit-down instrument. So here's a lady going around
kind of like a harp?
Huh?
Kind of like a harp, in size?
Yeah, you just no, just like a guitar. You sit down and play the guitar.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
You don't go around and say, y'all sing with me.
Okay.
Do this.
Yeah, okay.
What's up, y'all? Clap your hands.
Yeah, gotcha.
So she was the first person to do that. So Little Richard imitated her. I mean, not imitated. It was influenced by her. And then you got Chuck Berry, and then he was doing his thing. So it's she was ground zero for that style. And if you really want to dig deeper, then you got the boogie woogie sound. The big band boogie woogie sound, that's where she got her style from. But she funneled it all through a guitar and gospel and all that. So this is a good documentary. I don't remember where. It's on the internet. Find it. Rosetta Tharpe, sister.
Do your
Rosetta
research.
Tharpe. Do your research. I can't do everything for y'all, for you people. I'm just giving you the little light, you shine the light, you follow the light, you
just give it us game.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that you're an entrepreneur. Can you tell us about some of those projects?
So a lot of people know me as the person who did the I Love Third Ward brand, and it's something I'm very proud of.
You should be.
Living in a gentrified neighborhood, Third Ward, Texas, which is steadily changing and being repurposed for modernization and higher, valued properties. A lot of the character kind of goes away. So historically, Third Ward is very rich, very dense. People kind of just go know it for turkey. Some people know it just for Turkey Leg Hut and Bar 5015, which are were thriving businesses. One of them is still thriving. And
shots fired.
That wasn't no shot fired. It's just real. It's just reality. We'll see. You'll see how that turns out. I don't know, but there's been thriving streets of business throughout the years. A lot of there's blues musicians that come out of Third Ward. Beyonce came out of Third Ward. That's who everybody gravitates towards, and she's always shouting it out. A lot of artists, very thriving artist community comes out of Third Ward. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of historic stories, like old businesses. So what was the original question? Because I don't want to get too far off.
Well, I asked you about your entrepreneurial projects.
All right. So the reason, what came out of that, the I Love Third Ward project, was me documenting all these aspects of Third Ward. And out of that, I created a merch line with I Love 3W on it to keep it on people's minds. I sell my art prints of photography I've taken of scenes in Third Ward in the area, like these aesthetic shots. Like out of all the years that Frenchie's, the original Frenchie's was open, nobody thought to take pretty shots of it. Wolf's pawn shop, nobody thought to take pretty shots of Wolf's pawn shop. So I go through the neighborhood and all these vacant shotgun houses. To me, these are historic structures that talk about the times of the area. And I would do that in the middle of the night if it would rain and the sun. I mean, the lighting was just right and the streets were reflective. I'd go take pictures of these buildings. So I have all these pictures. I print them on metal, and whenever I do an art show, I have these for sale, but for people to have them on their walls, historic events. So I had a merch line. I made towels. I made caps. And it kind of started becoming. It was kind of like ground zero for people merching a neighborhood, at least in Houston.
For sure.
Yeah. So that kind of inspired other people to do it. And I always encourage anybody. I don't have to be the only person doing this. If you can do it well, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheap knockoff style, cheap money grab shit. Can I curse on this? I just
We're
said,
here.
Okay. I just said a curse word. Oops. So that was the entrepreneur aspect, but I've also do video production, stuff like that. That's how I eat and pay bills a lot. You got to do client work with that, and I need to really make promote the fact that I do that. I do photography. I do really good photography services. So, yeah, I think more people should get into entrepreneurship and not as something to post about on the internet and say I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm about to go on a tangent again. I watched Find Love or Pop the Balloon.
Ah, Lord. Why?
You'd be surprised how many people say, so what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. And they never explain
what that means.
What that means.
You've mentioned this a few times in regards to clout or people just wanting to do things for social media, and you want to encourage folks to be in it for the substance of it. Do you find that that's something that you're running into a lot? What is your relationship with social media? How does it serve your work?
It's definitely a great tool for communication. On my page, I post what the career moves that I've done, any type of insights to kind of gauge what's on people's minds. And it's kind of interesting because I developed a following just by being authentic. I didn't do anything, no sensationalism, just things
no
that
clickbait.
are going on. Yeah, no clickbait. I don't even know how to do clickbait. And I don't, I'll see some likes or whatever, and I'm thinking, okay, that's cool, but I ain't really base it on that. I just like to express myself, But I'll be in the grocery store more times than not, and people that I had no idea were paying attention to anything I'm doing will be like, I really like your post. I'm really inspired by what you've been doing. I remember this post you did, and it'll go back a year or two. I was like, wow, you really been paying attention.
And we just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is something that you're too old for?
I'm too old for holding grudges. Yeah, because what I found, stuff like bad emotions, you hold on to those, it's bad for you. It'll manifest in physical form.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do all the things I do therapy, and I always encourage everybody to do therapy, at least a talk therapist. where you could at least be mindful of your emotions and your different emotion states. Because a lot of people are like, I'm in a bad mood, so I'm going to torture the person next to me. You know? But now, if you have the tools to pay attention to your emotional states that you should be, firmly aware of after a certain age, then you can be like, I'm upset. Let me sit and figure out why. What did I eat today? Have I exercised? Is what I'm feeling right now justified? Should I really take it out? Did I have too much coffee and not enough hydration?
These are the things.
I'm going off, so I should reel it in and apologize to who I unjustly went off on. And then some people really have it coming to them. But
I stand behind that.
What do you want from me? Right. I did all the things.
But then for sure you went through the whole checklist.
Yeah.
What's something you're not too old for?
Learning something new. Yeah, exploring.
I feel that.
That's what keeps you perpetually. I hate to use young and old as terms.
Yeah.
Young is good and old is bad.
Yeah.
People kind of project that, and I just don't. I just say better, better or needs improvement.
I feel that.
Yeah, because if you keep it like that, then you're not just sit there losing all the time. You think, because especially how the society projects on women being aesthetically good looking all the time. Then the older you get, you're thinking oh, I'm getting wrinkles now. I'm not getting all the attention that I did when I was in high school or college at 23 or whatever. It's foolish mentality, and it's a shame that people do that. And even on men too, the old jokes are kind of corny, the memes. If you know about this the Gordon Guttrell shirt on a Cosby Show, you old. Stupid shit.
Yeah.
Get over that shit. We're human beings living this time period on Earth, and then we check out. And let us have our joy. Let's say I like going to vintage shows now. I like seeing the SOS band in Emancipation Park. I enjoy that shit. Am I wrong for liking old people music? Does that make me rotting like a corpse on two legs? The Walking Dead? Get over that shit.
And that's the point of this podcast, right? Because, we crack jokes oh, you're old ass, or they too old for this, whatever. Yeah. We say these things as if we're not going to get old, right? And I think for some other reason, the way Western culture is set up, we really think we're never going to get old.
Right.
And then when you start to age, and so many people, I know I had a whole breakdown at 25 because I felt oh my God.
Yeah, that's the age you have a breakdown. You think you're old.
Yeah. So then from that point on, I started to just really be intentional about aging and being around people who I'm oh, this is how I want to be at this stage of life, and so forth and so forth. So we have people of all ages come on here and discuss these things because it's it's inevitable, right? So even in using the word old, it's just a describer, right? Does fat necessarily mean bad? Does any of these terms, I just want to popularize it to a certain degree. Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing this. This is a good concept. It's a great concept, especially since you just broke it down like that. Okay. That's what man, listen.
Yeah, because thank you for saying that, because in doing all these, I've never, I have the intro or whatever, but I don't really break down what my intentionality is with it. I'm just hoping from the conversation, because I love when you were saying how you didn't like when you were younger and people were kind of just discredit you, right? So when we can have these intergenerational, there's something that we can learn from younger people, something that we can learn from older people, and we all got to be at the table.
Oh, and interestingly enough, that you brought that up, when I was doing the I Love Third Ward movement in its highest capacity, I was going to young people parties and blending in and just kind of just seeing what they were up to and how they talked, how to communicate, the likes, things that they like, or whatever. And I just learned how to that's how I would communicate what I'm doing. How they're tagging each other on Instagram or whatever. I mean, now it's another thing.
Right.
But so just being, and to me, it's all human communication. I don't sit there and let me see what the young folks is doing so I could interlope and whatever.
I love your uncle voice.
And
this is creepy uncle right here.
Yeah, listen, little old girl, sit on my lap and tell me something good in my ear. I wasn't gonna do that, because I look at people as human beings, and It was Russell Simmons of all people, like years ago.
No Diddy.
Yeah, unfortunately, but information is information.
Yeah, for sure.
When he said, like, back in the day, like, if you want to know where things are going, just pay attention to what people in their 20s are doing. So he said he would always follow around people in his 20s. So now, I don't know if that's a loaded statement.
Yeah.
But I took it from what I got, which is just follow what people are doing in their 20s. And, like, that's when you always going to know what's hip, what's cool, or what's
coming up next.
Or what's coming up next. Now it's younger.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of the internet,
right.
So the technology-driven, the Gen Z kids or whatever.
Right.
And,
God bless them.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I started getting off the bus. Like I was hanging, for the longest I could really enjoy younger people's music, and then there was a certain point where I just like, you young is the lost your way. God bless you. Okay, all right.
And on that note.
Like, it's like
that's gonna be my clickbait for this episode.
God bless you.
Marc Furi says
Fury. It's Fury.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fury.
For someone
I meant to correct that earlier. But that would be funny. That makes you sound like a Muppet, like Marc Furi.
Yeah.
I should shave.
Thank y'all so. But because you're saying Fury, like, and you're
it's
not
like short for furious.
Yeah, but that's not you though. Like, you're like sunshine. You know what I mean? So I've always said it wrong for that reason, because I could just Furry to make sense to me. Anyway, don't mind us. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Too Old. We love you. God bless.